Hello and welcome to Behind Beloit. I'm Ellie Anderbyrne. This weekly talk show is an opportunity to slow down, ask questions, and introduce the people and systems that make Beloit tick. Today I am joined by Scott Prindeville. Scott is the City of Beloit engineer. That means he's in charge of the streets, infrastructure, and everything under your feet. Welcome, Scott.
It's nice to be here.
Happy to have you here. So let's just start with a kind of an overview question for viewers of this show who don't think about city infrastructure a lot. What exactly does a city engineer do, and what kinds of projects land on your desk?
Yeah, well, as the city engineer, I'm in charge of the engineering division within Public Works. We do a number of things. Probably the largest component is that we oversee the city's capital improvement program and implement those projects. Those projects range from roads to sanitary sewers, water mains, storm sewer projects, but it also includes things with city-owned buildings, a roof replacement or repair, siding replacement, in addition to a building. It also can involve projects at parks. So it's quite wide-ranging. And then beyond capital improvement projects, we're also heavily involved in new development in the city, making sure the development complies with city standards, making sure they're constructing any infrastructure that's needed for the development properly. We also have some ancillary. We're in charge of maintaining the city's GIS system, our mapping system, keeping track of where all our utilities are. And we also make maps for various city departments. So that's kind of a summary of what engineering does.
Interesting. If we think about the road aspect of that job, sometimes when people drive around the city, they see orange cones or torn up roads or big machines and they think inconvenience. But what's really going on there? What could be happening behind the scenes that residents don't think about?
Well, when you see orange cones or traffic control up, I mean, it could be a myriad of things going on. Most people are probably aware if we're doing a major reconstruction of a road, that's going to have traffic control and cones up for a long time. But sometimes you'll see cones and it has nothing to do with the city. It could be a private utility company like Alliant putting in or updating their lines. It could be a private residence who has a failing sanitary service line that needs to reconstruct it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things underground that can go wrong. Anytime you need to dig any of them up, you might see construction cones impacting your ability to travel the roadway as normal.
What are a few infrastructure projects going on in Beloit right now with the city of Beloit and that maybe have a bigger impact on people's lives than they imagine?
Yeah, well, it's winter time, so there's not a ton of construction going on, but a lot of planning for this next construction season. But projects that have a big impact on people that they might not think about. We're kind of just wrapping up the wastewater treatment plant improvement project. So that was a big, I don't know the exact dollar amount, probably $45 million project, which is the first major upgrade of the treatment plant since it was moved out to the Willowbrook location. The big thing with that project was we changed how we deal with the sludge that's a byproduct of wastewater treatment. We installed dryer systems, which get the water out of that sludge and then create a usable end product that can be used as fertilizer. So we're excited about that's coming online.
Yep. That seems like a cool project.
It is.
It's important. It's important.
Yes, it is. It's
when you
one
flush
of
your
those
toilet, things have to go somewhere.
Yes, it's one of those things that the public doesn't think about. They don't think about where the water comes from when they turn on the faucet.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that work behind the scenes to make sure that keeps coming and that it is high quality water, and then where it goes when you flush it or take a shower or anything like that.
Yeah. What's the planning timeline for projects like the wastewater treatment plant or roads or other things? Is this like a few months, a few years, a few decades?
Generally a couple years for city projects. Bigger projects, it could be longer than that. Projects that have grant funding take longer. On the road side of things, we maintain a 6-year road plan of what we plan to do over the next 6 years. It's certainly not set in stone. It gets changed and updated, but that's a general timeline of what we're looking at to try to line funding up and then get a project completed.
What kinds of factors do you take into consideration when you think about which roads happen in 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5, 6?
It's a lot. It's what I spend a lot of time thinking about. I get a lot of phone calls from residents, asking to have their road replaced. Unfortunately, I have X amount of dollars to deal with, and it's my job to figure out how to spend that most effectively. One of the best ways to maintain roads is to provide cheaper treatments on them before the roads get in bad condition, like crack sealing or thin overlays, items like that. But unfortunately, we have a lot of roads that are already in pretty poor shape. So I have to balance maintaining those newer roads so that they don't get bad with reconstructing those roads that are already poor, that we have to worry about bringing up to a better standard as well.
That's a lot to think about.
It is, and then obviously we're thinking about how busy a road is. We don't want our main thoroughfares getting in the state of disrepair that some local roads that aren't traveled as much are. I wish I could do them all, but I can't. I've got to try to find that balancing act.
What's something residents do every day that's directly affected by decisions that you and your team make?
Anytime you're driving or walking around the city, you're affected by which roads we choose to resurface, where we put sidewalks in, where we put bike paths in. With new development, we're permitting where driveway accesses take place. So everything we do in that realm, we're trying to improve the overall safety of these facilities and keeping them usable for our residents.
How do you balance long-term infrastructure construction versus short-term things, especially in neighborhoods where any kind of change is really hitting close to home?
Yeah, I think ultimately my job is to watch out for the long-term interests of the city. I certainly realize that when we're doing construction projects that it can create significant inconveniences for people. When we're reconstructing someone's road right in front of their house, they could have to park away from their house and walk home for a month or a couple months at a time. I realize that's an inconvenience. Another thing that's really sensitive is when we're working in front of businesses, because we're messing with people's livelihoods there. We have a big project coming up that should start in the beginning of March here to reconstruct the block of Grand Avenue between Pleasant and State Street. Obviously a very public-facing block with a lot of businesses. So we'll do our best to communicate with them and let the public know that those businesses are still open. But it's a very real concern and issue that we have to deal with when we're doing these construction projects. It's a necessary evil, but we got to keep it and limit it to as small a disruption as possible.
So that's the block right outside our TV studio, if I'm
Yep,
thinking about it correctly, right? So when I drove up this morning, I didn't think, oh, this street looks bad. Are there hidden things underneath that need to be repaired, or is it the kind of place that just needs to be, because it's such high traffic, gets updated frequently to stay on top of things?
The real issue with this block is the sidewalks that are heavily traveled by pedestrians don't meet current ADA standards, ADA, Americans with Disability Act. When you have a pedestrian walkway, you have to have less than 2% cross slope on it.
Okay.
And the cross slope of the sidewalks out in front of this block is more like 4.5, 5%.
Okay, that's the angle that you'd have to go up with wheels over the edge.
Correct.
Okay.
And the reason it's important if you're in a wheelchair going down the sidewalk, down the road, if there's too much cross slope, instead of being flat, if it's sloped, your wheelchair wants to kind of turn downhill, so you got to apply more force on one wheel to
Or it
keep
scoots you right out into
to
the
keep
road.
it straight. Yeah, yeah. If you're used to being in
Yeah.
a wheelchair, you can traverse it without much of a problem if you're an able person. But for people who are new to wheelchairs or don't have the strength, it becomes very difficult. You know, we have ADA deficiencies all over the city, and we're budgeting money every year to fix them. We're doing everything we can to come in compliance, you know, and we're trying to prioritize those higher used areas, and this is certainly one of those blocks.
Certainly.
So the road out front isn't terrible, partially because people drive fairly slowly on it, but it does need to be redone. So the project is mainly about redoing that road and then bringing the pedestrian areas into ADA compliance.
Makes sense. What's a problem you're constantly trying to solve that the public rarely sees or thinks about?
I don't know that I really have anything I'm constantly thinking about it. I mean, I touched on it earlier. Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out how to get the most bang for our buck in rehabilitating roadways. Like I said before, it's always that balancing act of keeping the good roads good versus the expensive projects of reconstructing the ones that have already failed. Like I said before, I wish I had more money, but it's my job to try to figure out how to make that money go the furthest.
When a project is finished, what tells you it was a success, even if it's something that no one ever notices or thanks you for?
Yeah, well, the easy answer is it's my job to keep projects on time and on budget. So if that happens, we're doing good. Unfortunately, you're right, we don't get a lot of thanks on projects. It happens occasionally, and that always feels good. But anytime we're doing a project and we're not getting negative comments, you know, that's always a sign of success too. And sometimes we just work on controversial projects where there's no, I know the negative comments are gonna come. But sometimes you can measure the results of projects. You know, example of that is Cranston Road, where we took it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. You know, SLATS, which is the local MPO planning organization for the area,
Transportation planning.
had done a study out there because there was an elevated accident history. And the recommendation of that study was to do what we ultimately did. That project completed in, I don't remember the exact year, 21 maybe. But one of the fun things we were able to do there is we had speed data and accident data before the project. So I took accident data over a 3-year period before the project. And then I did it again after the project, and we've had 3 years pass now since that happened, and compared them, and we were successful in what we were trying to do. We did slow traffic down along that corridor. There have been fewer accidents since our project, and the accidents that have occurred are less severe than they were before the project because of the lower speeds. That's a project that I know gets a lot of comments from residents in the Facebook world, but ultimately it accomplished the goal.
So the things I've heard about that is, you know, people happy that the speeds are down and other people happy that they're slowed down, which is, how do you think generally about that trade-off between people wanting to get places as fast as they can and people not wanting other people speeding? You know, there's a balance there in all the traffic things. How are there guidelines to follow? Is there guidance from big organizations? Is it just a balance? How do you think about that?
There is. Anytime you're analyzing intersections in the real world and in computer modeling, there's a level of services that they call that go from good to not so good. And you want to keep those level of services to an acceptable level. We are actually doing a project right now where we are taking traffic counts out at Shopier and Cranston.
Okay.
And we're going to run it through the model and see if we can change the signal timing out there to optimize that intersection a little better. It's not a failing intersection currently, but if we can make it a little better, we will. It's going to require a little bit of infrastructure improvement.
So the goal there would be to have people waiting for less time at a red light.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed out there is the left turn signals on Cranston, the way they're set up. Both of them have to come on at the same time. We can't have them work independently of each other.
Okay.
And a lot of times in the PM rush hour, I'll see people that want to turn left onto Shopier towards OLA. There's a bunch of cars there, but cars coming the other direction on Cranston that want to turn towards the interstate, there's nobody there. So if we can get those signals to act independently of each other, we can get more people straight on Cranston through the intersection because that other left doesn't need to turn
Doesn't
green.
need to turn as long.
So we're probably 3 months away from implementation on that, but hopefully that intersection will get a little bit better.
It's nice to hear about projects you can see where you think about how can this just work better without really inconveniencing anybody, but just making everything better.
Yeah, when we do signal upgrades, I mean that's a project that nobody really sees or even knows we do, unless there's a physical improvement along with it. But rest assured, we're out there. We're trying to optimize all our intersections.
I believe it. Well, thanks for joining us today, Scott. It's been great to hear about city engineer, what things you do to make the lives of residents of our city of Beloit and our visitors easier and smoother and working great every day, whether we're thinking about it or not.
Well, it was nice to meet you, and I was happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. We've been speaking with Scott Prindeville. Scott is the City of Beloit engineer. Hello and welcome to Behind Beloit. Joining us today is Finley Hamilton. Finley is the Beloit Skycarp showrunner. Over the past year, she has knocked it out of the park in building the atmosphere and inter-inning fun at ABC Supply Stadium. Welcome, Finley.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's delighted to have you. So it's fun to think about your job as everything that happens at the stadium that's fun that's not the baseball. So if your job isn't really about balls and strikes, it's about the experience. But how would you describe what a showrunner actually does on a game day?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a fantastic question. So anything that is seen in park from the entertainment standpoint or anything seen on the broadcast, I have a handle in calling those shots, in making sure that the MC is where they need to be, that the cameras are picking them up, that the video board operator is cueing the graphics on the video board at the same time the PA announcer is doing it. So really anything that is involved in entertainment that you see in park, on the field, on the concourse, or anything broadcast standpoint that gets filmed pregame or during the game, that's really me calling the shots behind the scenes upstairs. You'll never see me anywhere, but I'm following a script that's detailed to the second to make sure that everything stays on time. We follow a lot of regulations being affiliated with the MILB, so we are on a pitch clock, so any entertainment you see in between innings has to stay strictly within 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So all contestants, MCs, everything has to be wrapped up, even the music, before that batter steps into the box to hit the ball.
So things like the condiment races.
Yes.
That is all starts and ends within 2 minutes and 15 seconds?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Typically with that, we try to sandwich it between like a commercial spot. So we typically try to do like a 30-second commercial spot while they're getting set on the field. And then they run, and we make sure that they are off that field by the time that batter's in the box. Otherwise, it could be big trouble for us, or the coaches get mad, the players get annoyed. So really, sticking within those guidelines, but still making sure everyone has a good time. There's a lot of instructions that I'm shouting out, yelling out, making sure that everything is wrapped up within that minute.
Wow. You got to pick someone who's speedy.
Yeah.
Speedy runners.
Yeah, and you know what? The promo team has full charge of that. So hopefully we just pray that they pick the right people.
Okay. So from the moment a fan walks into the stadium, what are the key elements you're thinking about to make the night feel special for them?
Yeah, absolutely the music, for sure. If it's a theme night, making sure that that's on theme. So Star Wars night, they're hearing Star Wars themed music, or Back to the Future, making sure all of that stuff is that exact music from that soundtrack or just Decades Night throwback. So they really feel immersed the second they walk into that stadium. They know where they are. They know what kind of experience they're going to have. Also having stuff on the video board. So if it is a theme night or promo night, having those elements, or even just on a regular day, who's the Sky Cart playing? Having a versus graphic up on the board so everybody knows once they get in what they can expect, how the atmosphere is going to be, even on a giveaway night too, making sure that the promo team is hyped and ready to go and they're really energetic and they're handing out bobbleheads or Hawaiian shirts fairly and evenly, but still making sure, they're making sure everyone's going to have a good time. They're greeting everyone with a smile. Same with our ushers and ticketing team. So when you walk in that ballpark, you're going to have a good time no matter what.
How much planning goes into ahead of time versus in the moment for things like music or the between inning games and activities or scoreboard content timing? How early does that start, and how much is similar across games and how much is different for each specific game that there's played?
Yeah, so we actually start the planning process the second the season ends in September.
Wow.
So we go through every promo we did, every theme night we did, all of our giveaways, what worked, what didn't, what we can improve, everything from our weekly promos that we do every week to our one-offs that we might do, we might not do again. And so that planning process begins pretty much as soon as the season ends in September, just going through. And then throughout the off season, it goes through, rounds of revisions and are we going to do this? Are we not going to do this? And then towards the beginning of the season, January really is where we get started and the whole let's narrow this down. Okay, what music are we playing? What themes are we going to do? What games are we going to play specifically for this theme night to match with this promo? Especially this season, we're really trying to change things up when it comes to the entertainment. So making sure that things are moved around in different innings and the races aren't always the same. So really trying to come up with those different ideas. We play 66 games at home during the season. So trying to come up with enough ideas that we have a rotation that we can go through when it comes to fan cams or races or challenges or, even just giveaway items, that kind of stuff. Trying to do something different year over year. And so a lot of planning goes into ahead of time, but of course, the day of the game, anything can happen. We can
how do you deal with not knowing how long an inning is, right? I mean, it could be 3 batters and they're out and it's over, or it could be like they hit and hit and hit and it just keeps going and you've got to plan for no matter what length it might be.
Yeah, and that's the trickiest part, I think, especially on our promo team, who's down on the concourse when they have an activity that involves contestants, especially our catch-up race. We have the kids or anyone who wants to participate in that, they report at least an inning before it's actually going to happen because we don't actually know. Again, like you said, we don't know when the ball is going to be done. We don't know when the players are going to be out of that inning. And they can wait sometimes for 20 minutes and they just wait there. So it's a matter of just figuring out, we'd love to do a lot of extra kind of activities with the crowd and stuff, but sometimes our team who's able to do that, they have to wait for up to 20 minutes, even longer sometimes, with a bunch of people who are just waiting to go. So it's a matter of just being flexible, and I think in that kind of thing, when you get the long innings and even the fans, you can tell, are getting a little exhausted by it, even the really big baseball fans are just kind of waiting to be done with it, stand up and stretch. So it's at that point really comes down to what music are you playing, what crowd prompts are you doing, what claps are you putting up there? Do you have anything on the video board telling people to get loud, telling people to cheer for the team?
So that's something you can direct from your box upstairs as you see it kind of happening.
Yes.
You had planned in advance to have things on the back burner in case you needed them, and then you push them up to the front.
Exactly,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
So we have a kind of unique thing too when it comes to pitching changes and stuff like that. So that's an opportunity to engage the fans in that way and just throw something in. We have some sponsored activations too that kind of make things a little different for the crowd, but it's just throwing those graphics in, throwing those crowd prompts in when we can, when we notice we're stuck in an inning for a while, and just doing what we can to engage the fans.
That's really interesting. What's the hardest part of keeping a live crowd entertained while also being flexible about the baseball game you can't control?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's an interesting situation we're in because a lot of our audience is actually coming from group outings.
Okay.
So when you're coming for a group outing, you're not necessarily going to attend a baseball game, you're going to hang out with your friends, with your family, to see your coworkers. And so it's all about entertaining the people who might not be as invested in the baseball game. There's a lot of things that we can't control, but there's a lot of things that we can. So like I said, clap prompts, music. What becomes the most difficult is when there's only a few hundred people in the stadium who aren't very invested in the actual entertainment portion. And it's just at the end of the day, it comes down to that promo team, comes down to the ushers to keep that energy alive. And still, for the 7th inning stretch, getting up on that dugout and performing the same as if there's 3,000 people in the stadium or 300 people in the stadium. So just keeping that same energy alive and really listening and watching the fans too, seeing what they react well to and kind of getting that idea. So for instance, fans like to be told what to do. So when it comes to fan cam, you can put the dance cam on. They might not dance, they might wave, they might smile. You might get that. You put an air guitar cam on with a really heavy guitar riff, they know exactly what to do. And if they don't, getting a promo team to do it first, kind of setting that tone, setting that energy. So it's really just creating that experience from every aspect. And it's amazing the things that you can control that you think that you can't.
Within Major League and minor league baseball, are there like ideas that come down from the major leagues or from other teams? Are there ways you learn about that, or you just watch their games, or does your team come up with ideas on its own, or how does that all work? Trying to convey like a similar baseball experience across different kinds of stadiums and different kinds of places, but also making this place feel special.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big trickle-down effect, I will say. It's a very tight-knit community. We go to conferences where we meet with all the different teams, and we have representatives from MLB who kind of help us navigate a lot of those trickier technical things. But we like to say, don't reinvent the wheel. If you see something another team has done that they've done well, either taking that on or especially trying to make it your own. But we definitely try to come up with our own things internally. That's a big part of our planning process, is coming up with what can we figure out as a team together, and then translating that to make it our own. But also, you know, some of the things we do, our team sees on TikTok or Instagram Reels. They see what another team did and say, hey, let's try this. So it's all about being open, and it might not work the first time, might not even work the second time, but trying to find a way that works with our fans, with our stadium, because even though we are such a tight-knit community within MILB and MLB, every stadium's different. Your fans are all different. We are actually in one of the smallest markets for MILB, so we do have an interesting crowd that comes, and it's really just trying to engage with them while also sticking to classic baseball elements that people enjoy, and then trying new things and throwing those in.
Interesting. Can you walk us through a moment when something went wrong mid-game? What did you do?
Yeah, there's, just so many moments where things go wrong. And the biggest thing is just not panicking and not having people on the ground know what's happening upstairs. I think the biggest thing is we had an audio and video board crash as gates opened on an education day. So kids are coming in for field trips, and it's really big that you're setting that tone, you're setting that energy, you're playing music that the kids enjoy and can relate to, and everything crashed. And normally when the video board crashes, we can go ahead and give a PA announcement and say, hey, we're experiencing technical difficulties, we'll get it up as soon as possible, but we had no audio in park either. So it was just a matter of trying to get audio back up and running as soon as possible, even before that video board, because video board we can control. Audio, we've got to get an announcement out there so people aren't walking into a dead stadium where nothing's going on. We look unprepared. So just getting that announcement up as soon as possible and being as engaging as possible throughout the rest of that game to make sure things are good. And that's something on the technical standpoint. We also have mishaps happen on the baseball standpoint when it comes to pitching changes, or when you get a pinch runner in there, or somebody's in who wasn't necessarily in the lineup or supposed to be. We don't get told that upstairs, so it's a matter, it's up to us. We've got binoculars up there, and our camera operators, we try to get them on it to see who's up to bat, who's pitching now, to get that in the system as fast as possible so that it translates out to our video board and we're not left looking like we're scrambling, even though there's a lot of moving pieces going on upstairs.
Wow. How do you think about the different audiences that come to a game, whether it's big baseball fans, casual watchers, kids, grown-ups, all kinds of different people, and making sure that everyone has fun?
Yeah, you can't please everyone, and that's something we understand, but it's really a matter of looking at what's trending now for kids. What are they into? What is classic baseball fans? What are they into? What's something that everyone can enjoy? So trying to have a good mixture of that in every game, regardless of the theme or regardless of what's going on. really trying to hone in on what people are into, but what's something classic that everyone can relate to. And that especially comes in just during our regular games. A theme night, you kind of come in and expect the theme that's going to go on, but during a regular game, it's all about engaging with fans in that way, making sure that there is something for everyone to enjoy. That there's things like cap shuffles that everyone can relate to in a baseball game, but there's also
What's a cap shuffle?
A cap shuffle. So yeah, that's when you see on the video board, anything can be considered a cap shuffle.
Okay.
When usually for baseball, we'll talk about baseball specifically, a ball gets put underneath a baseball cap, and it shuffles around, and the
like the
contestant,
magic trick,
ABC,
the magic trick
exactly.
thing. Okay.
Yeah, so those are pretty classic baseball elements, so a lot of
Okay.
people can relate to those. But then also having something like catch up, where any kid is invited to run across the field. We run from our ground skate all the way over to our first base stairs, and they try to catch one of our promo team members who's dressed up as Ketchup. Or on Saturdays, you can see our president, Zach Brockman, run as Ketchup, which is kind of fun. So anyone is invited to participate in that, regardless of who you are or how old you are. It's the kids specifically, but honestly, if anyone wants to do it, we'll let them. And so just having that kind of thing where everyone can participate, and it's engaging, it's fun, everyone in the ballpark can see what's happening, they're rooting for the kids to catch Ketchup, will they catch it, will they not? And in that case, we have those classic elements mixed in with those things that everyone can enjoy.
Cool. So I've never heard of a college that has a major called baseball showrunner. So I'm curious, how did you hear about this job? How did you get into it? How did you decide this was something you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I have a pretty interesting story about how I got into my job specifically. But I went to Baylor University. I studied journalism with an concentration in advertising and public relations. So I've always wanted to be in a fast-paced setting, entertaining people, kind of really getting to the root of getting people engaged and entertained and why they're going to do things, and helping people understand that, you might not be a baseball fan, but you're going to have fun regardless. No matter why you're coming, you're still going to have a good time. So I'm from the area. I grew up going to Snappers games since I was 5, 6 years old. And my sister has actually worked at the stadium as a game day employee in the summers for the last 4 or so years. So when I moved back home, I graduated in December. Didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to be in a fast-paced environment. I came from an agency, marketing and ad agency setting, so I wanted to be doing that kind of thing. And so I actually went to one of the job fairs that they hosted to apply to be a bartender, just to have something to do while I was applying full-time jobs. And as I was going around talking, kind of explaining my experience, my previous supervisor, Matt Mitchie, who's now the director of creative with the Rocket City Trash Pandas, overheard my experience, sounded a lot like his, and so he asked if I would be interested in taking on a role with him. And I said, absolutely. And so once I accepted the role, and I got there, he was only there for 3 weeks before he moved down to his new position. And I just stepped in and learned the ropes and had a fantastic time. And I think it helped coming from a fast-paced environment, being in that area, working with 10 or so different clients, all for different projects, and then kind of just translating that into observing my previous supervisor, Maria Valentine, did a fantastic job. She showed me the ropes, a lot of the things when it just comes to communicating. That's really what it comes down to, and communicating with your staff and learning the best ways that they respond to, because you're telling them, okay, ready for dirtiest car in the lot? The video board operator says yes, you say, okay, PA, you ready to go? And they say yep, and then you're just calling that out. And sometimes we're throwing things in like raffle tickets when people run upstairs and say, there was a 50-50 raffle today, can you throw this read in? And we look at our scripts and we say, okay, next time there's a pitch change, we'll get this announcement out there. We run to the video board, plug that information in for the winning raffle number. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and I really think it helps coming from a background of communication and public relations and working in a faster paced environment. But also just having fantastic mentors and fantastic supervisors who were able to help guide me to take over that role. And it's been awesome. I really think if that's something that you enjoy, to try to get in, even just working in a production space anywhere you can, it's a lot of fun and it's very fast-paced, but that is such a good way to get experience, is learning by those around you.
That sounds really cool. What a fun job to get into.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming today.
Yes, it was great. Thanks for having me.
We've been speaking with Finley Hamilton. Finley is the Beloit Sky Carp showrunner.